Allegations of foul play in the election and voting system errors are drawing questions about whether we should move away from e-voting. NTD's Miguel Moreno has that story.
An example of how an election can be skewed through an electronic voting system took place in Michigan's Antrim County. The county reported a false result on election night. Initially, results produced through Dominion voting systems machines showed Biden leading Trump by over 3,000 votes. But last week, a hand recount confirmed that Trump won the county by nearly 4,000 votes. Officials blamed the skewed results on human error. Meanwhile, the team that conducted an investigation into the county's Dominion system concluded that it intentionally generates a high number of ballot errors. Considering these issues, would it be better for the U.S. to stop using electronic voting systems and only hand count ballots? Zach Smith, a legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Meese Center, says it's fine as long as there is a paper trail.
Well, I think it's fine for election officials to use electronic voting machines and vote counting machines, but it's very important that there be a paper trail, a paper backup. And we saw why that was so important this last election cycle, because if there are allegations that the software is not functioning properly, there is that paper trail, that paper printout that we can go back to and verify the election results from.
But getting a hand recount has also proven to be a challenge for some. Recently, Georgia's Secretary of State ordered a signature audit of ballots after weeks of pressure from the president and lawmakers. Trump campaign plaintiffs, for one, have alleged widespread illegal voting violations and irregularities in Georgia. The Amistad Project, an election integrity watchdog, says using voting systems from private companies in public elections is also a problem.
So there is, yes, plenty of evidence that foreign interests are tied into our digital footprint as we manage elections. And that needs to be discussed and openly discussed in the nation, whether we want to continue in that fashion. I believe that there's significant vulnerabilities.
Another angle is that the media networks get real-time voting results from these electronic systems. In other words, they use that information, correct or not, to make projections that could influence their viewers. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
Despite hundreds of affidavits and a number of video recordings alleging election fraud, very few courts have been willing to hear the evidence. A New York attorney says there has to be at least an adjudication of the evidence, otherwise the nation will face consequences.
A New York attorney said a key issue right now is that there has been no proper adjudication of claims for potential election fraud. Stephen Meister is a lawyer and long-term opinion writer.
I think it is absolutely the case that there has not been a merits-based hearing. There's been standing objections, like, for example, what happened with the Supreme Court in the Texas case. I mean, you had, 18 or 19 states, probably 90 or 100 million people were behind that case, and the Supreme Court wouldn't even hear it. So you're not getting an adjudication of, very substantial, compelling evidence of a fraud.
Other than the U.S. Supreme Court, many states and federal judges have refused to hear the evidence of alleged widespread voter fraud.
I think there are some courts which, unfortunately, are partisan appendages of the Democratic Party. And I hate to say it, but the 4-3 split decision of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which essentially repealed a law duly enacted by the Pennsylvania legislature.
The state Supreme Court's ruling immediately before the election allows voters to cast mail-in ballots for any reason. A lawsuit filed against the statutory says it's a violation of the state's constitution, which has limitations on absentee voting.
But I think many other judges are they're not necessarily biased, but they're fearful because of the separation of powers and because of what I was talking about earlier, where you ask, what is the adjudicative body? Is it a political process or is it a judicial process? And they've simply been what I would call gun shy or reluctant to have a court adjudication of a popular election.
Last week, presidential electors cast their vote in the Electoral College. Republican electors from 7 states cast alternative slates of votes for President Trump. The certified Democrat electors in the same states cast votes for Biden. Both the House and Senate must agree to object or accept electors. Congress will meet on January the 6th. A very small number of GOP lawmakers have said they will object to the votes.
And so the question is, what evidence is Congress going to have at its disposal for those debates? And that's what I think this is all about. I think America is, up to now, the greatest democracy in the world. We have been highly critical of communist regimes that have rigged elections. The importance of this goes way beyond, in my opinion, President Trump and former Vice President Biden. It's absolutely essential to the United States, to our republic, that the American people and the world at large have confidence in the integrity of our elections. So to me, I can't see why anyone on any side of the political aisle would object to an examination of these machines and of the ballots and of the signature verification and everything, because if it was all done correctly, why not shine a bright light on it and look at it?
Penny Zhou, NTD News.
A Georgia state